Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us on this particularly cold day in January here in Long Island City, Queens. I hope you're staying warm wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Iris Lenches, and I'm the VP of Customer Care and Operations at First Light Cloud Exchange, and I also serve as the client and partner liaison at our sister company, Centurion Managed IT. This is a special occasion for us because we're launching our very first session in the XMIT webinar series. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that affects every modern business, which are the emerging tech trends of this year. And we'll discuss two top tech trends to watch for in 2026. So in this session, you'll learn about AI, in particular about agentic AI, and about cybersecurity as the latest trends that are shaping 2026. We'll explore the advantages of agentic AI and key considerations to watch out for. Additionally, we'll discuss how to address the growing need for expertise in these areas and prepare for anticipated regulatory scrutiny. So before we dive in, let me quickly introduce FCX and Centurion Managed IT. Both organizations that share a singular focus of delivering secure and proven cost-effective IT and telecom solutions from over 250 providers to small and mid-sized businesses. So our goal is to streamline up to 8 technology stacks for businesses to maximize compatibility. From process innovation to design and implementation and ongoing management, we support teams so they can learn and lean into tech and their business can soar. But now let's explore what lies ahead for your business technology. I'm thrilled to introduce today's speaker, Robert Cecilio. Robert has dedicated his entire career to the technology field and has worked both as an account executive and general director. He currently serves as the technology advisor here at Centurion Managed IT, where he brings deep expertise to the greater New York City business community. Robert has extensive experience helping mid-sized organizations with an emphasis on manufacturing, banking, and pharmaceuticals, and he helps executives navigate complexities in the world of cybersecurity and AI. We have a great session planned for you. Please feel to drop any questions that you may have in the chat throughout the presentation, and we will address them towards the end of the webinar. So without further delay, let's look at what 2026 has in store for us. Robert, the floor is yours.
Iris, thank you so much for that introduction and overview on some of the services that we provide. And so excited to start this webinar series here at Centurion Managed IT. Some of the things that we're discussing is things that you're seeing in the marketplace and around the news and around the world. Hopefully you get something, a good takeaway, an educational session and awareness of what's going on. Thank you again so much for joining us during your lunchtime. So one of the goals here to keep in mind is we're going to talk two top tech trends here that's in everyone's mind, specifically around agentic AI. We will look at our overall market and market conditions, the pros and cons, examples of agentic AI platforms that are in the market, and considerations that you should keep in mind, as well as cybersecurity, which has been and will continue to be on executives' top of mind, as there are a lot of risk associated with any sort of incidents. It is no longer a technical issue, but rather a business issue. So agentic AI. Just to give you some summary analysis of what's out there, a recent report by the UN Trade Development Organization, they report that AI will soar to $4.8 trillion by 2033, an increase of $189 billion in 2023. Essentially, what this means is that it's going to be a sector dominant force in the sector, and it would not go away anytime soon. But not only that, it was important to note that they made in this report is that in advanced economies in Western civilization, think of the United States and in Europe, and as well as other emerging markets, 27% of jobs can be enhanced by AIs. So I think one thing that we should consider here is that it's not going to necessarily looking to replace the workforce, but rather boost the workforce by adding additional skills and providing overall operational efficiencies. Another thing they highlighted in the report was that the full impact of AI will take years, if not decades, to build. So we're still in that immaturity phase of artificial intelligence, with ongoing AI platforms that are developing over time, which I saw a report of 30,000 so companies that have one way or another utilized artificial intelligence to improve organizational needs or personal needs. It's still a lot to go. But one thing is clear, agentic AI, it is on top of mind for leadership. And those that get it right will be the one that wins. But there's a caveat to this. Everyone is at the race right now to developing artificial intelligence within the organization, but it's not just going in and jumping into the artificial intelligence in the pool and swim with the fishes, but rather, are you implementing the right platform in your organization to address your organizational needs as well as your clients' needs? But to get into it, what is agentic AI? Agentic AI is designed to just operate autonomously. Essentially, it's you want it to do as much work as possible without the need of you intervening in it. So what does that mean? Most of you have already experienced this one way or the other. The platform defines a goal, they provide multiple actions, or they just adapt to dynamic conditions. Think of it when you call a pharmaceutical company or a customer service company asking for additional information. So some of these examples that I have here that's tied to cybersecurity and some of the services that we provide is where a managed security service provider or an MSSP might have a security operations center 24/7, but they're using the agentic AI platform to proactively scan for new emerging threats. But the difference here between the engineer and the platform is that it actively scans for a threat, it mitigates that potential threat to help the actual engineer not produce a false alarm, but rather a true positive alarm, hence reducing the risks of or the number of reports that the engineer receives. So the human intervenes after the fact. Another one is customer service enhancement, where you might have a utility company track a customer call, and they already know and are aware of that particular customer and some of the issues they have in regards to their unusually high electrical bill or any sort of utility bill. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of this? Most of them are just right there in front of us, but really the advantages here is increased efficiency in operations. Again, it's a platform that will be working by itself, but with human data implemented. But that data has to be clean, so that's another component of being a disadvantage in some of the risks. But also enhanced decision-making capabilities. The more information an organization has around their customer base or internal employee base, the more aware they are in terms of what needs to be fixed and what needs to be remediated. Additionally, it's 24/7 availability, which is always turned on. So if you're a small business owner who has less than 20 employees and can't afford a 24/7 customer service rep, and a customer calls after work hours, guess what? This particular platform that has agentic AI involved can track that phone number and provide next steps to either schedule an appointment or follow-up or prescription or and more additional information on whatever business case that is involved, which leads to improved customer experiences, which at the end is very important for all of our customers. But with that comes the disadvantages and risks. Some of that is ethical and bias issues. For many of you, you might not understand what that means. What this mean is that because there's a human element to this, is that if you're asking for, and I'm just giving you an example, a particular color that you're looking for that is blue, but in a particular place and location, and you feed that information, but it gives you another set of information that you're looking into, that's a bias because it only knows what it learns. And whatever information is being input, that's what's going to spit out. Also, high initial implementation cost. Because it's so new, an organization has to learn your business case for that agentic AI that's going to be implemented, which requires time and resources. So that's some of the things that right now in the early stages of artificial intelligence around agentic AI, what we see is that there's a high initial implementation cost, but over time, there's a return on the actual investment. Security and privacy risks. Because most of these platforms are not properly vetted or don't have, they might be using a form of an open AI platform. There's possible scenarios where information that you want to necessarily share, but maybe one of your employees might share or an executive might put on, might be exposed out to the real world. Regulatory and compliance challenges. This is an ever-growing field of compliance and rules and regulations, not only from a federal component, but state and municipality side of things. Depending where you live, you must understand what are some of the regulatory and compliance requirements that you adhere to. So if you're a financial services company, you need to adhere to whether it's SEC or FINRA's compliance. If you're healthcare, HIPAA compliance, making sure that no personal information, identifying information is exposed. And at the end of the day, it still needs human oversight. It only can bring out the right set of answers based on the right information that is being put in. But lo and behold, Gentek AI is here. In this slide, we're just having two scenarios of companies that are utilizing today's market. RingCentral, which we work with, uses AI receptionist. You might have experienced this already in the real world when you call in your pharmaceutical company. Now, I'm not stating that they're using RingCentral, but they might be using a platform like it. And what that means to you is when you call in, unfortunately, it's not a human being, but the intention is clear, is that they're trying to reduce time for their employees that are answering the call at your local pharmacy, help those that are on site. But I'll give you a scenario where a customer, a small business or medium-sized business in this matter, came to us and said, I need to have my administrative assistant take care of our patients in the medical facility. She's a great customer service rep, but I need her to adhere to helping the customers and the medical assistants. Do you have something in place? And we did. It was with RingCentral. With RingCentral, AI receptionist is able to log in the phone numbers, the patient's name. It can be associated to the EMR information database. And what that means is they can leave their information or callback number, and now the administrative assistant can just reach out back to them, or the patient can schedule their own appointment to see whatever doctor they prefer. And that was the case scenario for this. As for Salesforce Agentforce, as we all know, Salesforce is not a set and forget it platform. It's essentially a platform that can benefit a lot of customers, but in their organizations, but you do need in-house Salesforce developers for this. However, they have put in some AI platform, Gentek AI, so that those that have it, and depending on the department they're in, they can facilitate it and teach it so it can learn new things. And so that any questions that any of the users may have, it spits all the answers that they're looking for to improve their either CRM system or their overall workflows and analytics and reporting trends. What are some of the things they need to consider for Gentek AI? You have to make sure that it aligns to the business goals. And is there a use case for it? It shouldn't be looked at as just an organizational decision, but rather a department decision. Every department has different needs. And this is the current challenge that we see around Gentek AI or any artificial intelligence platform. Additionally, cost and is it worth the cost, and is there a return on investment? Depending on the field, such as if you're an MSSP, Gentek AI helps their engineers a lot because it reduces false alarms reports, and it just provides a summary of active threats that are happening in whoever's environment, wherever the threat is happening in someone's environment. So that's a need for it. But if you're in a customer service area, there's a need for it as well, because you want to make sure that your customer service reps are attending to the customers at an appropriate time. Then it comes, you have to consider the data. The data that you have available, is it good data? Is it factual data? Is it something that can be fact checked into the system so that when your customer or your internal employees are accessing this information, it's giving the right answers? Those are things to keep in mind. Also, do you fall under any regulatory and compliance requirements where you need to retain data for a certain period of time, maybe in the healthcare industry as well as financial services industry? But more importantly, the employee training and change management. Is everyone on board with this change? It's going to take a team of individuals to understand that there's going to be a mass undertaking to learn the platform. So that means it doesn't necessarily have to be from an organizational component, but rather a department conversation. But at the end of the day, every leader in each department should be involved in those conversations, but it's an ongoing conversation. It doesn't integrate with any of the existing systems that are in place. Most AI platforms have one way or the other can tie to an existing database or CRM system. You want to make sure that the platform that you want to utilize for Gentek AI communicates well with the existing systems that are in place. And then keep in mind, you have to monitor and do maintenance on the platform on an ongoing basis. So those are the things to consider around Gentek AI. Biggest highlight here on this will be the cost, the integration of the existing systems, as well as change management, and more importantly, the data, if you ever decide to move with a Gentek AI platform. Cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is going to be forever top of mind for every executive, and this is no different in 2026. We do see it. The reason behind the growing forces on cybersecurity is just the ever increasing of cyber threats, the regulatory compliance that is needed, and the increased digital transformation as we see the evolving technology trends that are going in the marketplace, specifically around artificial intelligence. Cybersecurity companies, such as companies that we work with that provide MSSP services or SOC services, they're using AI today to help address those new cybersecurity risks, which is increasing the cybersecurity spend. But also, because there's a lack of experts and there's a lack of budget restraints, because companies are shifting their focus on artificial intelligence or whatever the technologies they are adhering to that's coming from the board of executives, this is something that we're seeing that is affecting the overall marketplace. And again, regulatory scrutinies. There's more oversight than ever before, and companies are trying to address these so they can avoid penalties, or let's just put it frank, to reduce their brand recognition to be damaged, reputation to be damaged. Excuse me. Additionally, ransomware is still one of the top topics that keeps executives and board members up at night. It's no longer just IT professionals. Ransomware is we've seen in the news, and something that we'll continue seeing in the coming years, especially with the ever-growing technologies that we're seeing around artificial intelligence. If anything, we've seen an increase of attacks given the platforms that exist today. So what do we see here in the United States in cybersecurity for this year? We're seeing that the federal government is requiring those companies that provide critical infrastructure and provide a service to their federal partners to be more resilient. What does that mean? They need to increase their spending, simply put. So whether they're in the natural resources segment, whether they're in the logistics segment, or they're a subcontractor for a commercial company, there are requirements now that they need to adhere to make sure that they're compliant, specifically third-party vendor assessments, which I will talk to in a bit. And if they don't do so, they're at risk to losing contracts. So they at a minimum need to meet certain cybersecurity standards in order to keep existing contracts, to increase insurance coverage, or reduce cyber insurance and premiums, and of course stay with regulatory standing. Those that are innovative are not looking at this as a constraint, but rather as a way to build confidence for the organization and the brand name, as well as being responsible stakeholders in the data that they have and using artificial intelligence accordingly. And not only that, we've seen the ever MFA, multi-factor authentication, becoming more of a requirement and enforced rather than just being an option. I'm sure you all have faced this in a professional manner, whether it's through your utility company or phone company. They're asking a second option to identify yourself because you are a threat at this point and a weakness for those that are actively trying to get information on. What are some of the guarantee issues that we see here? As I stated previously in the slides, there's a shortage of talents on cyber jobs. Over 500,000 open jobs across the United States, and still growing. What does that mean? That there's not enough talent or resources to fulfill all the open roles that are existing out there, whether small, medium, or large. Additionally, 55% of companies are expecting to implement layoffs in 2026, which means you got to do more with less. And not only that, time. To build a team of cyber experts is going to take time to build that out for each specific technology trend that you have. So whether it's artificial intelligence, networking, end user support, those are things that's going to take a very long time to build out. And it takes about 3 to 6 months to fill a single cybersecurity position. And then 48% of those organizations state that it takes over 6 months to fill critical roles. So think of a security operations center engineer. So what can you do? What you can do today is just define a strategic roadmap. Identify your gaps. Where are the areas of needs of improvement? Typically, no matter what size of organization you are, you would typically go to a cyber insurance company asking for coverage. They provide a checklist for you. And with that, you can use that as a starting point to create a roadmap. Now, I'm not going to say this solves it all for you, but it's something to consider. Addressed in any vulnerabilities that you may have or compliance. So if you know that you fall under regulatory scrutiny, you should be aware of where you fall under that. There's reporting metrics and reporting websites that you have to adhere to in the event of an incident. So something to keep in mind. And if you are aware of them, have you done a pen testing or assessment? Clarify the roles that you have within partnerships and inside your organizations. So understand who you are, what services you're using, what partners you have signed up with, because some of these partners require third-party validation form where they're asking you, what are you doing for cybersecurity? And in the event that you don't or not using any sort of cybersecurity services, they might just drop you. The same is applicable to you. You could do the same for other vendors that you work with, because you might be doing the right thing, but the other organization is not. Optimize resources. There's a company like us who help organizations like you to provide the proper resource and the right provider in front of you. It just takes a conversation, and if the answer to the question is, I do not know where to start, that is something that we can do and help you with. Additionally, are you following a framework, the 18 critical security controls, or the CIS controls, or the National Institute of Standards and Technology, also called NIST? These are frameworks, not necessarily that are technical in nature, but rather just helps you drive business outcomes for the organization. So yes, it has a layer of technicality, which is true, but it's easy to understand. And if an organization is following this, you're more likely to be compliant and following the proper cybersecurity hygiene. And if you're not, using that, then let's work on that. And if you are, have you validated it? Have you done a cybersecurity assessment? Have you done a vulnerability assessment or penetration testing? But not only that, have you done a tabletop exercise where in the event of an incident where you can practice a run and make sure that everything that you have signed up for works according to plan? So that is it for today. If there are any questions, please feel free to send them in the chat. I appreciate the time that we've had here around Genetec AI and cybersecurity. This is the first of many. We're planning to have one webinar every month. The next one would be on February 18th. It will be cybersecurity basics. Protect your business with cybersecurity essentials. It's something that is near and dear to my heart around cybersecurity, especially with the growing age of artificial intelligence. Something that we want to make sure that our customers are aware and individuals are informed on. This is my contact information. Please feel free to scan it. If there's any questions or concerns that you have around Genetec AI or platforms that you're looking into and you want to have a further dialogue on, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks again.
Thank you, Robert, for sharing this information with us today. We learned a lot around Genetec AI and cybersecurity. Stay tuned for more webinars hosted by Centurion Managed IT. Our next webinar will take place on February 18th from 12 to 12:30, where we'll go deeply into the cybersecurity trends that 2026 have to offer. Thank you for joining us.